we can allocate the expenses or revenue to the department wise that we have seen it. And also we can configure this allocation journal with from two different places. One we have seen from the allocation journal, we have allocation basis, allocation rule, and the same thing can be configured from the main account also. Main account in the sense ledger account. So I will show you how we can configure that. So for that we have to go to the chart of account. Okay, accounts, main account. Okay, so if you select any one expense main account, like for example, hmm, like for example at TRC I have selected commission expenses, so I will select this commission expenses. Okay, at here assign template. Okay, so once you selected the ledger account, you will select the legal entity. Okay, like for example at here I am selecting the USMF. USMF. Okay, I have added the legal entity over here. Okay, I will select this particular legal entity. I will check this particular checkbox allocation. So once I have checked this particular checkbox allocation, you can see the allocation terms has been enabled. So in this particular allocation terms, okay, you will define based on percentage. Okay, so at here previously what we are doing allocation based on the source, and the destination will be populated automatically. Now at here when you select this particular call commission expense account, and when you enable the allocation as yes, and when you click on allocation term, so if this particular main account is there based on percentage, it will create the allocations. Okay, let's imagine if I'm giving the allocation as 10%, then at here I need to give the source uh, unit. What was the my department I need to specify, so I can specify over here, like for example business unit 001. Okay, and this is my destination main account, that is nothing but commission 602150. Business unit you will mention as yes. One minute. Okay, so at here you select the business unit required yes, and the cost center you will require as yes. And okay, so these two combination you will specify over here, and you will add another.
Sorry, sorry for disturbance.
Yeah,
Is your, I think your screen is not visible to me. Everybody can you please confirm your screen is coming on.
okay, let me reshare, no issues.
Okay, please.
Okay, I have reshared my screen, hope you are able to view it. Kindly confirm if you are able to view or not.
Yes, now you can proceed.
Yeah, so let me start from the beginning again. So yesterday we have seen the allocation term based on ledger allocation basis and ledger allocation rule. Okay, that is directly which is available on general ledger module. We have allocation separate fast tab. Under that particular fast tab we have these two setup, and we have the ledger allocation process. We can configure this without creating these two. We can create directly from the main account itself. For that, what you need to do, you need to go to the chart of accounts, main account. Okay, so at here, if you select any particular expense or revenue account which you want to allocate, like for example at here I am selecting the commission account. Okay, like commission expenses. Okay, so after selecting this particular commission expense account, what you will do, legal entity override. Inside that you will select the respective legal entity, that is nothing but USMF I have selected over here, and you will click this particular checkbox allocation. Okay, so once you check this particular checkbox, allocation terms will be enabled. Okay, so in this particular allocation term, you will define this is the source financial dimension and this is the destination financial dimension. Okay, so at here you can see my source dimension for this particular main account. I have given this is my source and this is my destination which is required. Okay, similarly you will create until it makes 100% and you will click on save, and rest all the process is same. Okay, so this is another place where you can set up the allocation term. So in interview they may ask you a question, how many different ways I can set up the allocation terms. So you can say that I can set up from the ledger, which is nothing but the main account form. Okay, in legal entity override we need to add the respective legal entity, we need to check box the allocation, then the allocation term will be enabled. So that is one answer. Second answer is with the help of ledger allocation basis, ledger allocation rule. If these two is configured, then we can run the allocation. Okay, so this is the one question which may come you in interview, stating that how many different ways I can allocate my expenses or income. Okay, so in GL module we have two more process. One is the purchase order year end close, another one is we have year end close process. So this we will see at the end of the all the modules. So it's related all the core data, so we will see at the end of the modules. So today we will start with the accounts payable. So before going to the accounts payable, so do you have any question on general ledger transactions, periodic transactions, allocation transactions?
Sir, please explain periodic transaction one more time.
Okay, so periodic transaction is nothing but it's a recurring based transaction. Either it may be on daily basis, or it may be a weekly basis, or it may be a monthly basis or yearly basis. Okay, so what this periodic transaction will do, like for example you may have recurring expenses. Okay, the amount is same. Best example you can take it as the EMIs. Okay, if car EMI or bike EMI, so you may have the car EMI for 12,000 and you need to pay each and every month. Okay, so instead of creating complete transaction record, so what you can do, you can directly come to the periodic journal. For that, journal ledger module, journal entries, periodic journal. Okay, so at here what you will do, you will create a record. Like for example at here I am creating a new record, and at here I am selecting the journal name as periodic journal, and you will go to the lines. Okay, imagine I have some expenses as I have given the EMI, right? So at here I will select that respective account. Like for example, let me see any loan is there, loan account. Okay, okay, so I have some long-term obligation finance lease is there. So I have selected that particular account and which I need to pay on every month basis. Okay, lease amount. So at here I am debiting this particular lease amount with 5,000. Okay, and it has to go to the bank, respective bank. So I will select the bank account over here. Okay, I just giving some example over here. Okay, so at here what happened, my EMI will be debited and as I have paid it, and it has been credited to bank. So the bank has been created over here. Okay, so after updating this transactional record, if you scroll towards your right, you can see unit. Okay, this particular tab, if you see over here, it will ask you how frequency is this particular transaction. Okay, so if you mention days, so based on days it will be populated. If you mention month, so it will based on month it will be populated. If you mention year, so it will mention based on every year the transaction record has been populated. Okay, so if you mention all, so all the bases it will be tracked. Okay, so for example I am mentioning month and I have given number of month over here. So you can see when I place a cursor on that particular top number of unit, you can see you must need to enter the unit defined. The unit field must make up the interval which you can want to post the transaction for this selected journal line. For example, you can see he has given one example also. So if you selected the month and the field is you want to make quarterly posting, enter 3 in the field. Okay, so it was stating that if you want to post quarterly, so you have to mention 3 over there. Okay, which means every 3 months it considers one quarterly. If you want to post on every month basis, then you have to mention over here 1. Okay, and you can provide the last date, like for example if you see any loan, the repayment may be up to 240 months, like that will be there, right? So you can specify like that months, like for example at here I'm mentioning 2026 January. Okay, now you can see the transaction date is 125 and I have saved the record. Okay, so based on this particular journal line whatever I have defined under the periodic journal, so based on that you will retrieve this particular line on your journal transaction. Okay, so periodic journal is nothing but it's a template where you will retrieve on every month basis to post the transaction instead of recreating step by step the entire transaction. Okay, now I will go back to the journal transaction. For that I will navigate to the journal ledger module, journal entries, journal. Okay, so at here I will click new, and at here I will select the journal lines. Okay, so at here now I have created one periodic journal. Now I want to retrieve that particular journal on my journal lines, and I want to book my transaction, and the ledger need to be hit. Okay, now what I will do, you can see we have a one periodic journal on top. Okay, we will click this particular drop down and we'll click on retrieve journal. Okay, so once I click on retrieve journal, it will ask to enter to date and from date. So you will enter the current date. You can press T and tab, so it will take the current date. And at here I need to select the new at here I need to select the periodic journal number. So if I click on this particular drop down, it will display all the periodic journal which is already created over here. So based on that particular template I can retrieve my periodic journal. Okay, so this is the last one, 657, which we have created. So I will select that one and I will click on OK. So once I clicked on OK, based on my periodic journal, whatever the line detail I have updated, that line information will be populated in my journal transaction. Okay, so you can retrieve n number of times the periodic journal, okay, until the transaction is posted for the particular date. Is there any doubts, Sri Lakshmi? So after that you will report as finished and you will submit to workflow and once the workflow is completed, you can close the transaction. You can post the transaction. So at here I have mentioned report to finish. Let me approve it. Yeah, now you can see I have the post button has been enabled. I can post the transaction. So this is the concept of periodic journal. Okay. So if you have any more doubts, if you are not understand any particular concept, please let me know so that I can re-explain those concepts. And if there is no doubt, then we can proceed with next module, that is accounts payable.
Sir,
Mhm.
in exchange rate, you entered for $1 is 70 rupees like that, right?
Exchange rate, I have mentioned, sorry, I didn't get it. In exchange rate,
No, for $1 it is 70 rupees like that you entered, right?
yeah.
How can we know that each dollar has this much rupee? We have to check in Google or some.
Okay. See, let me show you that also. For example, I am going to the general ledger, currency, exchange rate type. Okay. So if you go this currency exchange rate type, at here you will select the default global rate. Okay. You will click on exchange rate. So at here it will display for each and every transaction what is my exchange rate. Okay. So at here I have mentioned AD and INR as 23.59. Okay. And rest all information it is available. For example, if I go to the ledger setup, okay, let's imagine that here my accounting currency is USD and reporting currency is USD, right? Now, if let me make sure whether we have defined the USD to INR, we have defined the exchange rate or not. For that, let me go back to the currency exchange rate type, default exchange rate. Okay, so at here we have already defined USD to INR. How much we have defined, that is, this is at here it is defined as some different rate. Let me change to 85. Okay, so I just modify the exchange rate to 85. 1 USD equal to 85.2550. Okay, now let me make reciprocal also. Okay, let it be. Now after defining this particular rate, okay, now if I do any transaction in INR, so I'm going back to the journal, that is journal entries. Okay, we will take this same journal entry which we have okay, which is already posted, right? So let me open some other journal one. Yeah, so let's imagine at here before posting I will modify the accounting currency. Okay, so at here I'm modifying the currency as INR. Okay, now you can see when I modify to INR, I have given over here how much value. It's 10 lakhs. Okay, 10 lakhs is equal to how much USD? If I open the calculator, I have mentioned the 10 lakhs divided by 85.253. I have mentioned this rate. Okay, now you can see approximately you can see what is the value over getting I am getting over here 11729.79. So 225 or something I have given. So based on that the exchange has been populating, and you can see it here the voucher it's showing in USD and the reporting currency showing in USD. This is one. Second one, if you want to know the exchange rate, you can go to the general tab. Okay, now you can see the exchange rate the currency exchange rate for reporting currency and currency exchange rate for the accounting currency. So how this particular exchange rate has been populated? So based on the rule what we have defined, USD to INR, and it's reciprocal to INR to USD. Okay. Now it's clear, Sri Lakshmi?
Yes, sir. My question is, you entered 85.2 for something rupees, right?
Yeah.
How can we know that amount?
That exchange rate value, there are two options are there. Either you need to update manually. I mean, this value will be updated by the accountant. Okay. He will update manually. That is one. Second thing is you can do the integration with any of their respective bank to update this value automatically. Okay. This is the third party integration which will come over place with any one exchange banks. Okay, like for example in India we have the exchange currency like Western Union, right? So with their server it will be integrated to populate these particular rates. But most probably what they will do, for every month they will check and they will update the exchange rate if it is a small company. If it is a big investment company, then investment based company, then they will populate this particular exchange rate value by integration itself, by searching in Google.
Okay, we no need to interfere for the exchange rate.
Yeah. That depends on their finance consultant, their consultant, finance user, whoever is there, right? The finance manager, department finance manager. So they will update those rates over here.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
Explain about offset account. It is little bit confusing again.
Okay. Like how, like for example, in real terminology, we will have debit account, credit account.
Yes.
Okay. So debit account is nothing but the account which is on your left side, and credit account is nothing but which is on your right side. So when you open the journal entries, okay, now you can see we have debit side, I mean on left side you have three common field. One is company, account type, and account. Okay, and the offset side you have offset company, offset account type, offset account. Okay, so instead of entering in single line, you can enter. We have two type of accounting entries. If you see any accounting standard, you will find two type of accounting entries. One is single accounting system. Another one is double entry accounting system. Okay, so double accounting entry system will they can enter in two lines, in debit one line and credit another line. Okay, now at here in this particular line you can see I have entered my debit and credit in single line itself. Okay, so this is my debit. At here if you see my left side, whatever is there, it is getting debited. The reason how it is getting credited, has I have entered the amount on the debit column. Okay,
Okay.
so if I am entering the credit side value over here, then this whatever my left side is there, it is a credit account, and my offset account is a debit account. Okay, so like for example, instead of selecting the offset account, I can add another line and I can give the debit amount. Like for example, at here, let me copy this one. Okay, now I have given the debit amount. Okay, now if you try to post this particular transaction, it will not allow you to post, as it will say that your voucher is in balance. Okay, so if you want to balance your voucher, they should be have equal debit and equal credit. Okay, then only your voucher will be tallied. If the voucher is not tallied, then we cannot post the transaction. So to post the transaction, either you need to enter the offset account. Offset account is nothing but the the transaction which is your debit and credit is reflecting based on that. Okay, now at here I have entered previously in single line. Now if I want to enter in double line, I can add another line over here, and I will select the respective ledger and I will place that main account. Okay, 10 lakhs. Okay, so either you can post in this way also. System will allow you to post, as you can see the voucher number 10701070. Okay, but to speed up the number of transactional record in single go, most of the users will enter in single line itself, the debit and credit.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the accounts payable module. So already we have seen the purchase order process. So in purchase order process we have seen the how the purchase order has been created, and in purchase order we have around how many status. So these are the questions to you, as you have already attended the procurement session. So we have converted the PR to PO. So after conversion of PO, how many statuses will be available for the purchase order?
4 or 5.
Can you name that?
Wait. It's submit, approve, reject, cancel.
Let me explain the status of purchase order. So in purchase order, so initially when we have created the PR to PO, when we have converted, okay, there is a toggle button. If you enable the toggle, the PO status will be in draft. Draft is nothing but the buyer in the sense the PO creator, whoever is there, okay, he can modify the rest of details in that particular purchase order and he can submit to the workflow. Okay, the first status is draft. Okay, the second status is in review. There will be no submit status for the purchase order. Once you submit to the workflow, by default the status of the PO will change to in review. In review is nothing but it will go for certain steps of approval, what we have defined in the workflow parameter. Okay, once it is approved, okay, when the workflow has been completed and all the certain steps has been approved, then from in review status it will move to the approved status. This is the third status, which is known as approved. After approving, the next step is confirmation. So once you click on confirmation, there will be a LPO report will be generated. LPO report is nothing but purchase order report has been generated, which will be shared across your vendor. Okay, so before that also there is another process is there, where we will send our purchase order for the confirmation of external vendor. Okay, so when you send this particular process to the external vendor, so external vendor review, that is another step will become over here. Okay, so once the external vendor review has been done, then system automatically it will confirm the purchase order. Okay, so once confirmation is done, next we have product receipt. Okay, once the product receipt is done, the PO status will change to receive. Okay, so once you have done the invoice, the PO status will change to invoice. Now how many status we have seen? We have seen draft, in review, approved, external vendor review. So before after approving external vendor review, confirmed, received, invoiced. There are around 7 status. Other than that, we have one more status, cancelled. So if you want to cancel the purchase order, if you click on cancel, the PO status will be changed to cancel. Total how many status we have discussed now? 8. So you should be know this 8 status and what when this particular 8 status, what status will do what kind of action after doing certain action. So what will be the status will be updated. This information you must shouldn't know. Why? Because this is the questions which may ask you in interview. So I have confirmed the purchase order. So what is my next step? So you should be able to answer. So there are two things are there after approve. Either you need to send to the external vendor confirmation or you can confirm directly. So these are the two steps will be there. So you should be answerable these kind of questions. Okay. Yeah. So
Sir, when the PR status changed to closed.
PO status will not change to closed. It will be has invoiced. Once it is invoiced is nothing but closed itself.
Okay.
If you see, let me go to the accounts payable purchase order. Okay. Now if you see in this particular purchase order screen, you will have in review, approved, confirmed, received and invoice. After invoice you don't see any closed status. Okay, now you can see this is one of the PO which is confirmed and invoiced. Okay, so if I open this particular purchase order, okay, now at here I have one line information 180 quantity. Okay, let me add some more columns so that you can understand. So I'm just inserting some more column over here. So we have line status for each line. Okay, and we have invoice quantity, receive quantity. I will add both the receive now and receive quantity. Okay, so I have added couple of fields in this particular grid, table grid of PO line. If I scroll towards my right, you can see my line status what it's showing as invoiced. Okay, after it means that whatever the PO quantity is there, 100% have been invoiced. So nothing is pending to do the invoice. And even if I want to generate any invoice, I am not able to generate as the invoice button has been grayed out. Okay. Yeah. So at here, so we have already know how to create the purchase order and purchase order how to make the invoice. This we have already seen it. So let me quickly explain once again from the beginning. So by creating directly from the PO instead of creating PR. Okay. So let me create from there and let me start our session of accounts payable. So I am creating a new button over, I'm clicking new button over here in the all purchase order form to generate new purchase order. Okay, so at here I have generated new, and in this particular drop down I will select the respective vendor. Like for example at here I have selected some random vendor. Okay, and if I scroll down we may have site and warehouse. So this is depends on the industry and the like for example if it is a product based company then site and warehouse is mandatory. You have individual sites, individual warehouse, so you need to store the respective quantity in the respective location. Okay, so currently I'm not updating anything, and after that you have the administration group where you can see the buyer group or requester who is requesting this purchase order. So you can update the requester name information and you will click on OK. So currently I have not updated anything. Okay, so as I have already earlier also said, the purchase order is classified in two different categories. One is line session, another one is header. Okay, now you can see this is the purchase order number 125, and we have it is classified in two different heads. One is lines, another one is header. So in header information, it will display the complete vendor master details, like what is the vendor, whatever the vendor master information has been updated in the master level. So those information will be populated over here. And in case if you want to add some more information like site warehouse, you can update over here on the header level. Okay, and in line level, it is classified again with three different head. One is the purchase order header, purchase order line, and line details. So these it is classified in three different heads. Okay, now you can see this is the purchase order header. If I scroll down, purchase order lines and line details. Okay, so mostly we used to work on the line details. We will update the line details of PO line details in this particular form. Okay, so at here either you can select with the item number, or you can select with the procurement category. So item number, in the sense, it is nothing but the product or product master. Okay, I believe you know what is difference between product and product master. If anyone can answer.
The product is nothing but the basic details of the product, and the product master is the complete details of the product.
Yeah, product master is nothing but it's have its own unit equality, and it has its own dimension. Based on dimension configuration, we call it as a dimension product master. A product is nothing but it is classified as a service or good, which can be classified based on inventory also. Okay, now we have seen the product which have goods and services, and the product master is nothing but they have the dimension segments. So when I say the dimension segments of the product, which is nothing but based on the size, color, style. The best example for the product master, you can you have real time examples like car. You can take it as a car. Okay, where you have different variants. Okay, other than that, you can see textiles industry. Okay, furnishing industries, where you have different variants. Okay, and also for the product, you have any raw material you can consider as a product. Okay, so at here, instead of item, I'm selecting as uh, procurement category. Even the service item you can create as a procurement category, and you can utilize it. Instead of creation of service item, you can create the procurement category. So at here I'm selecting some procurement category. Let like for example, at here I'm selecting the photocopiers. Okay, after selecting the procurement category, I can define the site and warehouse. Okay, so at here I'm giving the site warehouse as number 111. Okay, and you will specify the number of quantity. Let's imagine I'm giving the quantity as 10, unit of measure as each, and you will define the unit price. So at here I'm giving some random amount, and this is my net amount. Now you can see when I have created the purchase order, this by default the status is what? Approved. The reason behind this is as we have not enabled the parameter for the workflow. Okay, so to enable for workflow, what we need to do it, we need to go to the procurement sourcing module. Okay, under procurement sourcing module, we have procurement sourcing parameter. Okay, now at here you need to enable two toggle. One is give purchase order creation via purchase requisition draft approval status. So if you enable this particular toggle, yes or no, if you mention as yes, when you convert the PR to PO, it will be in draft status. This is number one. And second one, active change management, you will make it as yes. Then whenever you create the purchase order, it will go definitely go for the workflow for the approval. Okay, so currently this active change management is disabled, so that was the reason it has been creating directly approved status. Okay, is it clear now, Lakshmi? This point is clear. Why? Because in interview there may be a question like I want to skip the approval for the purchase order if I convert directly from PR to PO. So in that case, what you need to answer, you should say that there is a toggle button which if you disable it, it will be automatically in approved status. That toggle button is nothing but this one.
Yes.
So currently I have not enabled it. So as we want to proceed with further case study. Okay, so I'm going back to the purchase order which we have created. 125. Okay, so at here the PO status is approved. Now I will go to the purchase tab and I will click on action confirm. Okay, so once I click on confirm, the PO status will change to confirmed. Okay, and there will be a LPO report which will be generated. This report, LPO report, is nothing but the line purchase order report. Okay, the terminology says some business user they will say as LPO, some person will say generic purchase order. Okay, now once the confirm action has been done, you can see the PO status changed to confirmed. Okay, and this is the purchase order journal. From here the buyer can print the purchase order report by clicking on original preview. Yeah, so this is the purchase order report. This will be customized based on the customer requirement. So currently it is the standard report, so you can see in detail. Okay, now let me go a step back, another step back. Yeah, now so far it is clear, right? So first we have seen direct approved PO. Now we have seen the confirmation status. Now we will see the receive status. So receive status will be updated once you receive the product, then the PO status will change to receive. So for that I will go to the receive tab and you can see under generate we have the product receipt. And you will give the product receipt number. It's a mandatory field. Okay, and you will click on OK. So if you are receiving partially, so then in line detail, in line is there, right? In line tab, so you will update this quantity. Like for example, if I'm receiving partially, so I will update partially as 5. Then 5 quantity will be received and 5 quantity will be in delivery remainder. Okay. Now if I click on OK, now you can see the PO status will change to receive, but still 5 quantity is in pending for delivery. Okay. Now you can see the line status. Let me add the line status so that you can view it. see the line status still showing as open order. Okay, now if I go to the invoice tab, generate invoice, okay, so at here I am doing the partial invoice, so I am able to the invoice for the partial one. Okay, now you can see this is the product receipt number which I have received for the 5 quantity, and based on that product receipt number, now you can see the my invoice quantity is showing as 5. Okay, let's imagine I want to receive 100%, then I want to book 100% invoice, then I will delete this product receipt, I will delete this generate invoice which we have generated now. Okay, now if I go back to the product receipt screen, okay, receive product receipt, now you can see over here the 5 quantity by default it's coming over here. And one more thing, if I close this one, if I go to the product receipt journal, so we previously we have posted 5 quantity, right? So at here if I go to the line details, now you can see we have ordered 10 quantity, received 5, 5 is in remaining. Okay, now if I receive these 5 also, then the PO status will change to the receive one. Okay, let's see. So clicking on product receipt, so I am giving some random product receipt number, okay, with today's date, and I have submitted. Now you can see the PO status will change to received. Now you can see the status has been changed to received, and the line status is also changed to received. Now if I go back to the generate invoice from the invoice tab, sorry, yeah, now if I click on the generate invoice, okay, now you can see we have a multiple over here under product receipt, which means we have 2 product receipt number. So based on the 2 product receipt number, it's combined and it's giving one invoice number. Okay, so you may have this kind of scenario where you will create multiple product receipt in one invoice, or you can book individual invoice for individual product receipt. Okay, now in this case you can see we have multiple product receipt. I can directly give the product invoice number and I can post it. Okay, this is one scenario. If you want to post individual product receipt number, then you will go to the match product receipt. Okay, at here deselect all line and select respective line which quantity you which against which product receipt you are making invoice, and you will click on OK. Okay, then it will ask you match doesn't balance with the invoice quantity, so you click on yes, and now you can see the 5 quantity has been added to the respective line. Okay, so in case if you want to book multiple, directly system by default it's creating multiple lines. Okay, you will give the invoice number and you will give the description and post. So currently I am doing for the multiple lines, so let me select all the product receipt. Let me give the invoice number and let me click on post. So once you click on post, okay, now you can see it here we have received one error message stating that the matching validation is not done. Okay, so for you can see this match status is not performed. So for that what you need to do, we need to click on update match status. Okay, once you clicked on that update match status, now you can see the match status has been changed to pass. This match status is nothing but we have 2-way, 3-way matching principles. So based on that it will be calculated automatically. Okay, in development instance we need to click manually update match status. Okay, but when you work on actual instance this will be an automatic. Okay, you should not click on manual auto update, it will be automatic basis based on the policies. Okay, now let me click on post button. Okay, now the invoice has been posted. So previously we have seen, so far we have seen the purchase order process up to invoice level. Okay, now after this we need to make the payment. The payment will be done by the finance team. Even the invoice will be done by the finance team. Now how he will make the payment? So for making payment we have a vendor payment journal. Okay, so against this particular invoice, now finance user need to make the payment for this particular vendor. So for that, vendor finance user, what he will do, he will go to the accounts payable module. Okay, under accounts payable module we have payments. Under payment we have vendor payment journal. Okay, so this is the payment journal which he will utilize to make the payments for the vendor. Okay, so these journals like vendor payment journal, customer payment journal, journal, fixed asset journal, UI looks same. Okay, there is no difference between the user interference. Okay, now when I open the vendor payment journal, you can see it look like similarly to the journal screen. Okay, now at here what we will do, we will click on new to create new vendor payment journal. Okay, so when you click on new, at here we need to select the name. So we will select vendor payment. So at here this particular journal type name will be vendor disbursement. Okay, now if I open this particular journal vendor pay, okay, you can see the journal type is vendor disbursement. So you should remember this particular journal type. So in interview they may ask you what is the journal type for the vendor payment. So you should able to answer it's vendor disbursement. So far we have seen for the journal, allocation journal, periodic journal. Now we are able to see vend pay. So you should be aware these four journal types for these journal names. Okay, when I say the journal, you should able to answer daily. When I say the allocation, you should say allocation has a journal type. When I say vendor payment, you should able to answer vendor disbursement. Sorry.
Nothing.
Yeah, so you should remember this journal type also. In interview they may ask you very shortly on this one also. Okay, so at here you will select vend pay, so that is vendor payment, and you can update the description over here. It's an optional. After selecting the journal name, you will click on lines. Okay, now this is also same view how you are able to view in the journal. At here also it's the same view. Okay, but only one small minor changes. At here by default the account type will be vendor. Okay, now you can see when I select the account, it will display complete vendor master. Okay, at here one field is not available, we can add it, but if you want to able to view, you can go to the general tab and you can see the account type. Okay, so we were stopped over here. So by default, when you open the vendor payment journal, by default at here in account it will display the vendor master list over here. So in case if you want to change over here, like if you want to move change to ledger, or if you want to select the project, for then in that case you will go to the general tab and you can change from here drop down whether if you want to go with the ledger, bank or project, you can select over here. And also you can do one more thing, you can add another field called account type over here in this particular table grid by clicking on this particular three dot insert column. This three dot is there, right? Insert column, and at here you can add that particular account type, and if you click on update, it will be, the column will be added at the end. Okay, if I scroll towards my right, so this is the account type which we have added. So you can select this particular grid and you can drag it and you can place it to next to the company and account column. Okay, and if you save this particular grid, then it will display in the same view. Okay, now at here when I click on new, a new line will be added and with the voucher number. Okay, this is the vendor payment voucher series which is following over here. Okay, now in this particular drop down I will select the respective vendor. Okay, so that is ME Office supplier. So once I have selected the vendor, if I press tab, it will display the vendor name. Okay, and at here I will enter the value in debit. Okay, why I should enter the value in debit? Can anyone answer?
Because we are paying for the vendor.
We are paying the vendor, that's right, Sri Lakshmi. Another reason also, if you see, the vendor will have always the credit balance during the invoice. Okay, to make it zero, so what we have to do, we have to debit that particular balance, then by default what will happen, the vendor balance will be zero, right? So that is another reason, you can also say that. Okay, now at here I can update the amount by default by manually also. Okay, if you enter the amount, like for example at here I am giving the amount as 50, imagine I'm just giving some random amount over here 50, and you can see my bank account is already populated. Okay, let me deselect this one, we will see more in detail. So at here in bank I have selected the bank account as US Opera. Okay, now if I click on post, what will happen, the transaction will be posted successfully. Okay, this is the simple payment. You will select the vendor account, you will update the amount, and you will select the bank account, and you will click on post. So once you click on post, what will happen, the transaction has been posted, I mean you have made the payment now. Okay, once you click on post, it states that operation has been completed. It means that you have done the payment to the vendor. Okay, now in another tab, let me open this one. Okay, now at here in this particular tab, if I go to the accounts payable, vendors, all vendor. Okay, now let's see the account statement of the particular vendor, that is ME Office supplier. Okay, I will open this particular vendor. Okay, in this particular vendor tab,
आंटी ढूंढ रही थी रे
in this particular vendor tab,
आंटी ढूंढ रही थी अभी आई थी दौड़ दौड़ ढूंढ रही थी
I will click on transactions.
बोल रही थी दिन भर बिजी कहाँ रहता है तो मतलब जाके फोनवा कीजिए कहाँ बिजी रहेगा
Prashant, can you mute yourself?
ओके सर
Okay, so when I open the this particular vendor master, and you can see we have a transactions, we have two different transactions, we will see both. Okay, in this particular transaction, So it will display all the transactions what we have posted so far. Okay, now you can see we have posted 50 USD and it is displaying over here, and we have posted some invoices, some prepaid invoices, which is already displaying over here. Okay, and also you can see balancing transaction currency. Okay, which is also stating that it is open. Now you have made the payment, but it is not knock off with the invoices. I mean, you have done the payment, but it's not settled with any one invoice. Okay, so in that case, we need to do manual settlement against the invoice. Okay, at here settlement is nothing but this is my invoice. Like for example, invoice number T28, it's 80. Okay, I'm making payment against this. There is no proof has been attached during the invoice during the payment time. Now you are making knockoff manually between this T28 invoice and with this payment. So how we need to do that? For that you will go to the settlement. Okay, settle transaction. So when you click on settle transaction, it will display all the balances list amount. Okay, now you can see we have T28 is there, right? 80.99. You will select this one as mark and you will select this 50 as mark. So once you select that one, so it will display the remaining balance 30.99. Okay, after 80 you are settling 50. So what is your remaining? 30.99. So once you click on post, so there will be a settlement transaction in between these two will be hitted. Okay, now you can see I have posted, right? So after posting, you can see the balance of that particular T28. It's showing as 30.99 is remaining against this particular invoice which I need to collect it. Okay, so this is clear, the settlement, manual settlement. Prashant, Naveen, Sri Lakshmi, Praveen.
Yes.
So this is manual settlement. So we have made just a payment, manual payment, and we are settling manually. So this is manual option. Now you want to settle during the payment time when you are making the payment. At the time you need to settle it. That is also can be possible. For that, what you will do, you will let me open another tab. Okay. So at here I am clicking on new, selecting the vendor payment journal as type, journal name, lines. So at here I am selecting the same vendor. Okay, ME supplier office. Now before updating the amount, before updating the amount, what you will do, you will click on settle transaction. You can able to see the settle transaction over here next to delete. You will click on that. So once you click on that, at here it will display all the invoices over here. Okay, so let's imagine now I have prepared the 154 100. Okay, you will click on mark, and if you click on OK, so this particular value, whatever this particular value is there, right, this value will be automatically updated in the debit column. Okay, and you can post directly this particular transaction. Okay, now at here you can see at here I have selected the settle transaction. I have selected the respective invoice line. Okay, and I have given the offset account as bank. Okay, any doubt in this particular settlement during the payment?
No.
Okay, in case if you want to settle manually, I mean partial amount in that particular settlement invoice line, that also what you need to do, you will go to the settle transaction. Okay, let's select the same which is already marked, right? This one is marked. So let's imagine in this I am making only 50k. So what you will do, you will select this particular complete amount minus 50k. Okay, and you will click on OK. Now this 50k will be updated in this particular line level. Okay, and once you posted this particular transaction, okay, let it post, then we will see the vendor transaction, vendor account statement, how it will impact.
Sir, here is there any option to update invoice number?
Invoice number we are settling, right? You can see there is a settled transaction. Inside settled transaction, it will display based on the invoice number. Against which
Yeah,
invoice,
that is okay.
against which invoice
But
number you are updating, so based on that it will be updated. And if you click on this particular view mark transaction, it will display. I will show you. This is processing. We have another column also called invoice number. Let me check. Gautam, can you check the server?
Yes, Mahesh. Let me check.
Okay, no issues. Let me have another.
No, from my side also.
Okay, no issues. Let me have another instance. So at here you can see. Let's see if I have any invoices in this one. Okay, so there is one invoice which is available on this particular vendor, so we will see in this particular transaction. Okay, so let me duplicate tab. So at here I am preparing the vendor payment journal. So for that I will go to the accounts payable. Okay, under accounts payable I will have the payment tab. Under payment I will select the vendor payment journal. Okay, so at here I will click on new. Okay, so I will select the respective journal name, that is vendor payment. Okay, I will go to the lines. So at here I will select the vendor, that is okay. Even you can search with the name, or you can search with the vendor account number. Okay, so at here I have selected based on the name, and I will go to the settle transaction. So once I go to the settle transaction, it will display all the open invoices of that particular vendor. When I say the open invoices, is nothing but the balance which having the balance column is there, right, which having the balance showing balance is nothing but the open transactions. Okay, so in that I will select the respective line. Okay, this one is already open in one of the payment journal. Okay, so I will select one of the payment journal line. Okay, so it here it is 500 is there, right, so I'm making 250 as a payment. Okay, so once I click on OK, and once I have posted this particular payment journal line, then what will happen in this one, the balance 250 will be reduced. Okay, so at here you can see we have view mark transaction. In this particular view mark transaction, you can see this is the against which invoice number you are doing it, and the payment information of 250 on this particular invoice line. Okay, so previously at here we used to have the invoice number in older version. Let me add the invoice number column if it is available. Let me add both. See, it is blank. Previously we used to have before description invoice number. So once you have selected the vendor in older version, it's we used to select in that way, but the new version is completely upgraded. Okay, so after updating this information, so at here I am selecting the offset account as bank, and I will select the US operational, and I will post this particular transaction. So once I post this particular transaction, you can see for this vendor in this 500 it will reduce to 50. The transaction still it is in posting. Okay, transaction has been posted. Now if I refresh this particular screen, you can see the 250 has been reduced, and you can see the vendor payment vendor payment line has been added. And if you go to the settlement tab for this particular line, you can able to see the settlement voucher. Okay, so this is the last settlement voucher, and this is the settlement date, and this settlement voucher number and this is there, right? So this is common for both. If you see this one, for this also, if you go to the settlement, it will display the same voucher number. Okay, so that is the advantage. So even you can add in this particular grid couple of additional column like settlement, last settlement date. So if you filter over here settlement instead of contain, sorry, instead of transaction I am filtering on master grid level transactions. So at here add the column filtering setting. Last settlement voucher, last settlement account. So if you add these three columns, and you can able to see, you can see this is the invoice, this is 125 and this is 125. So this voucher number is nothing but my payment journal voucher number, and this voucher number is against this particular invoice voucher number. You can see it here 1196, and if you see the invoice voucher number, it's 1196. Okay, so you can track this information which automatically settle based on the settlement when we selected the transaction during the payment level. Okay, so if you are making the manual settlement, so then there will be another transaction type which will be created, that is nothing but settlement transaction. Okay, for that also the conceptual is same. At here the same voucher number will be populated for the settle against which we have settled, we can able to view it. Okay, so that is the manual and automatic manual settlement posting the transaction, and during the transaction how we can make the settlement. Any query on this particular topic, settlement? The same functionality is available for customer also. Okay, so if you have understand this, then at there also you can able to understand it. If you have any doubt so far, so there is another journal is there, so we'll quickly go through that, and we'll stop over here, and tomorrow we will see more in detail invoicing type under the accounts payable. Sri Lakshmi,
No.
no doubt. Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah, so before going that, let me check. Okay, so now we have seen the settlement. Now the next part what I need to showcase you is the invoices. Okay, so we have seen the PO based invoice. So there is another way of doing invoice is nothing but invoice journal. So when we will use the invoice journal, like for example, you may have direct expenses which you can directly book without going to the PO level. In other words, you can say direct service based expenses. You can directly book invoices without creation of purchase order. Okay, so these kind of invoices you can book directly with the help of invoice journal. Okay, best example is your telephone charges, telephone expenses. Okay, Wi-Fi bills, electricity bills. For this, no need required to create the purchase order, right? You can directly create the invoice journal and you can post it. For that, you need to go to the accounts payable, invoices, invoice journal. So we have two different invoice journal. One is invoice journal, another one is global invoice journal. So we will see both. So today we will see invoice journal, tomorrow we will see the global invoice journal. Okay, so in invoice journal, again the UI will same as the journal, it might be little bit different. Okay, you will select the journal batch number as AP invoice. So at here also the journal name will be as invoice recording, vendor invoice recording. So this is the journal name for AP invoice journal. Okay, vendor invoice recording. Now after selecting the journal name, you will go to the lines. Okay, so this is very straightforward invoice booking. Okay, So at here you will select the respective vendor account. Like for example, at here I am selecting Outgun Computer Trading. Okay. After selecting the vendor, you will give the invoice date, invoice number, okay, and description and amount. Like for example, I am giving 50k as amount, and in offset account side you will select the respective expense account. So at here what will happen, my vendor will be created and my respective expenses will be debited. So at here I am selecting the expense account has some office expenses, okay, office supply expenses. Now my office supply expense will be debited and my respective vendor, that is Outgun Trading LLC is there, right? He will be created. And if you have workflow enabled, then it will, you can submit to the workflow for approval. Okay, so currently I am directly posting this particular vendor invoice journal. The journal has been posted and you can click on voucher to preview the voucher. Okay, so at here you will have voucher with two different, one is your expense account is getting debited and your vendor is getting credited. If you have sales tax, then sales tax also will be debited. Okay, so this is straightforward invoice journal which you will create. Okay, so this is clear, right? Invoice journal, how we will create it, straightforward. And the same way you can create in GL also by selecting the by changing the account type to vendor, and you can do that. Okay, now you have seen the invoice journal. So what is difference between invoice journal and global invoice journal? Okay, so global invoice journal is nothing but where you can able to see other legal entity invoice journal also. The process is same, but here is a one form where you can utilize other legal entity invoice journal also. Let's imagine now Praveen is there. He was having access. He's a finance controller, and he's having access to two legal entity, USMF and USRT, and he need to book the expenses or any related vendor penny invoices, expense invoices. He can book directly with the invoice journal. So how he can book? He will directly open this global invoice journal. For example, if he preparing for the USRT, he will click new invoice journal, and at here he will select USRT. Okay, and he will select the respective journal name, AP invoice, and he will click on OK, and he will record the transaction. Similarly, if he want to book for USMF, he will again click on new journal, USMF AP invoice, the journal name, and he will click on OK. Okay, the journal will be created over here, and the same, if he open the lines, he will select the vendor and he will select the offset account. He will update the invoice number, date, and the debit or credit amount, and he will post the transaction. This is the same way how we book the invoice journal. Okay, so in interview they may ask you what is difference between invoice journal and global invoice journal. There is nothing but there is no such difference. Invoice journal is respective to that particular legal entity. Global invoice journal is nothing but you can record the transaction in one page for all other legal entities. For best example, you can give as the controller have two different legal entity access, and he need to book instead of navigating again switching the legal entity, he can directly book the invoices directly in one particular form, that is global invoice journal. Did you got that particular answer and question? Sri Lakshmi, Praveen, Prashant.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we will stop over here. So why? Because there is another invoice journal is there. So if I start that one again, you will be confusion. So we will stop up to here. Tomorrow we will see another invoice journal, okay, from the Fresh Mind. Okay, so enjoy your weekend. I don't want to take huge session, so it's a small concept, but it's have very big complicated things, so I need to make slow and steady all the process. Okay, if you have any question on today's topic, we have covered the account payable. In accounts payable we have seen the purchase order process, and after that we have seen the payment, how we can make the payments. Normal payment, we have more different type of payments are there that we will see tomorrow. And we have seen the invoice journal, global invoice journal. Global invoice journal is nothing but you will access the same form for other legal entities at one page itself. That's it. Okay, so tomorrow we will see in another way of recording the invoice journal. Okay, and we will see more different kind of payments, type of payments we will see. Okay, and we will see the return orders. Okay, if you have any doubt on today's session, please let me know so that I can re-explain. Okay. Okay then. See you tomorrow at morning 8. Okay.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam.